What is up, guys? The new Bonnie here, and as I'm sure most of you know by this point, one of my goals right now as I'm working through college is to become a teacher of English at the high school level. So I figured for this assignment and for this episode of Bonnie Banter, what better topic would there be for me to talk about other than the changes that are needed to make higher education more affordable and more available to everybody. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Roll the intro! In 1965, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Higher Education Act, which set up the framework for the higher education programs and colleges and opportunities that we have today. The problem with this is it's been since 2013 that act has had any changes put to it, and with evolving standards, certain debts happening all around the world, there's a lot of need for a lot of changes, and there's a lot of jobs out there that are requiring a much higher education to get anywhere. An associate's degree is practically a high school diploma at this point. So what are some changes we can make to the Higher Education Act that are still much needed today? Well, Congressman Tim Walberg from Michigan, who created the FAFSA Act a few years back and has helped out many students in making their financial aid more accessible, has stated that power of education and control over it should be pushed to the states, and lots of other people agree with him on this. Even the president himself has said that the power should be passed on from federal down to state level, to local governments, the teachers, the parents, and even the students themselves. This would eliminate the need for federal aid. However, it would make it a lot more difficult for colleges to get bailouts if they were needed in some states that are accumulating more debt and not getting as much net income as others. He also wants to find ways to incentivize or to get more aid to those students who are incentivized at a very early age to save on for college. Now, for me personally, if I weren't in the military, I wouldn't be able to pay for college. So stuff like this is very much needed in our society today, especially for those who are so driven that they want to go to college. Because remember, college is optional, but with some of the interviews that this congressman has had with other employers, he's finding that there are a lot of undervalued employees because they do not have the proper education and skills needed to complete the job at hand. This meaning more and more people need to go to college in order to get the job that they want and to acquire the skills that are needed for that job in particular. Now, this congressman has proposed some very great ideas, but he doesn't have a plan in motion. Now, what you need to get anything started is a plan. This is where you go off of. And U.S. Senator from Utah, Mike Lee, actually has a plan, or at least he is a huge advocate for the plan of higher education, introducing the HERO Act, which is the Higher Education Reform Opportunity Act.
Our higher education system is like a game of chutes and ladders, except in this version, you'll notice that there are a lot of chutes and only a few ladders. Here are the players. Ben's an 18-year-old who just graduated from high school with good grades. Barbara's a 30-year-old mom who wants to go back to school while raising her child. And Bob's a 40-year-old manufacturer who lost his job and wants to learn new skills. They're all trying to get here, to this spot at the top, where they have a rewarding career that allows them to support a family.
What this is going to do is it's going to focus on four different principles. These four principles focus on accountability, affordability, transparency, and innovation. These changes for transparency and affordability are going to make it easier for students to understand what college is right for them and what career path is going to best suit them, giving them more information on each individual college rather than just a student finally graduating and them saying, where do I go from this point? And also, it's going to decrease student loan debt. We're not exactly sure how. This wasn't proposed in the plan. This is just the plan of action that he wants to take. Now, in other terms, this is going to make it so that people, not just students, but people, no matter where they are in life, if you're at the top of the ladder and you're just trying to get over that final nudge, or if you're at the very bottom of the ladder and you're just starting your college career, or even if you're midway, and you've just decided to have a career change or something like that, you don't have to slide all the way back down to the bottom of the board. There will always be more ladders than there will chutes, and that's how this system works, is that you'll always be able to climb up, rise to the occasion wherever you're at. 2021 is looking like it's going to be a pretty big year for education. That being said, I don't know how COVID's going to play out in the year 2021, if it's all still going to be online or more of these hybrid classes are finally going to put in more students into the physical classroom. But it's looking like the president has a pretty awesome idea for budgets for the 2021 fiscal year for education programming. There's going to be increasing career and technical education opportunities for students, and there's going to be a lot of money. In fact, around $14 billion for the IDEA programs is what this website is telling me from www.ed.gov. This is the president's proposal for his budget. I will be leaving a link in the description below to this because I'm not going to read off all the facts and numbers that we have. But $14 billion for programs like IDEA, that's the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This is going to put forth a lot more money into the individual students who are needing more of it, because students with disabilities have a lot more pieces they need to worry about. But at the end of the day, we are all students with needs for an equal opportunity of education, regardless of where we're at in life, regardless of any other outside aspects. We're all students. We're all here to learn. So while this proposal doesn't focus on higher education as much in terms of college degrees and what have you, it's going to be focusing on trying to make federal student aids a lot more efficient, a lot more easily accessible by students, and then of course all the money that's going to be put into different education programs. We've also got more power that's supposed to be going to the states and local governments. Teachers, even the parents, are going to be in charge of deciding what education is right for these students. Now, of course, this does mean this is going to affect things on a federal level, and what this means for students is they will be able to meet the individual needs of their states rather than the Common Core and other federal standards set by the federal government. We're going to have a lot more opportunities, and it's going to be a lot more individualistic than it has been in the past. Now, unfortunately, like there are with all things in education, you're going to find that there are certain drawbacks when it comes to these new higher education opportunities, one of them being in dual credit courses. Now, if you're not familiar with a dual credit course, what it is essentially high school students are able to get college credit hours from a local college, hopefully around the high school that they're going to, and they will be getting college credit hours. They will still be getting high school credit hours, but there are also ways to find loopholes through this. And it's also going to be cheaper and more affordable classes for the students, usually about half the price of a normal class, seeing as how these are less credit hours. Now, the problem with all these loopholes is that some students have found out that you can actually take gym and get college credits for it, and that's just not going to work. There are students that aren't going to be getting the right education, the proper education, even though they're still attaining credits for these. Now, another huge thing is that some colleges have actually started to drop standards, which means they are starting to make it so that you can get a degree in 3 years or less. And it's good that you're trying to speed along the process because you're trying to get more students out there into the working world and they are able to get the jobs of their dreams. But the problem with this is if you're rushing education, then students aren't getting the right education. That's an entire year missed out on very important classes. And if you've gone through the 3 years of college and you get to the point where you have the job and you find yourself questioning, how do I do this? Then you've probably missed out on something and you are going to have to go back and learn those skills anyway, or you're going to be flying blind, and eventually it's just going to snowball out of control. You'll be teaching students the wrong thing, you'll be teaching other people how to do the wrong thing, and you won't know how to do your own job. So opportunities like this and other opportunities include internships. Now, it's all about eating a chunk out of time. So some of these dual credit classes or these internships to help introduce students to the working world are just eating away at time, and they're taking away valuable needs of students. So things like internships are introducing them to these types of things, but they're also taking away very important time in the classroom that the teachers need to give these students more skills so that they can apply that to their job. Otherwise, once again, you're flying blind. Other than that, I would say that the education reforms, they need done. There's obviously need for change because anybody who is attending college or anyone who's even heard of the word college, I guarantee the first thing that comes to your mind is, I can't afford this, or it's expensive and it's time consuming. Is it worth it? And right now, honestly, it's kind of a 50-50. Depending on the job that you want, and if you're wanting a high paying job, if you're wanting something that has a lot more reward for a lot more risk, then you're going to be wanting to go to college because you need this to get through with life sometimes, okay? Right now, a bachelor's degree is probably where people need to be at because an associate's degree is the equivalent of a high school diploma, and there are still so many high school dropouts in the United States that it's hard to find not working people, but people that have the right skills for the job that they need. And employers are having to turn down a lot of people, or they're having to find more people to go through more extensive training, therefore eating up more time, which is something that nobody has. So we need to be putting forth a lot more money into these different education programs, and we need to be giving more groups of students more opportunities. Everybody has the right to an education. Everybody has the right to the same education and equal opportunities for the education that they want. And I think a lot of these proposals are going to be a great success. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching this. I will see you guys in the next one.